Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about Kamala Harris, the 2020 presidential candidate running to be president on the Democrat side. So who is Kamala Harris? Well, Kamala Harris is a California senator, okay? And previously, she was a DA in San Francisco, a district attorney in San Francisco, and she was also the attorney general for one of the California areas, right? So she is essentially a lawyer, right? So let's talk about who and what she is. As far as, is she an insider, an outsider, or a spike? Is she a Washington insider? Is she outside? Does she bring ideas from outside of Washington? Or is she a spike? Is she a Washington insider that's spiked out of the box? Well, I'll tell you right now, Kamala Harris is an outsider, more outsider than any candidate for Democrat that I have seen. It is truly incredible how far outside the box she is, right? So let's talk about her stances, right? So one, she's really focused on economic issues. She is promising universal pre-K, okay? She is promising a tax cut for working and middle-class families that will give them $500 a month through tax cuts, right? So they'll have more of their money, essentially, right? She's also for debt-free college. She is for Medicare for all, and pretty much that's her stance, right? And she focuses primarily on economic issues, right? So those are her stances. Most of that is the Democrat playbook just signed off, right? There are some standouts. It's the tax cut. The tax cut is really a standout. That's not, you haven't seen that in any other area, right? No other candidate is really talking about tax cuts, right? That's really unusual within the Democrat circles. All right, so let's fully talk about, and I'm not really going to talk about those from a tactical and governance perspective, because I'm going to talk about Kamala Harris's odds to win the primary and to win the general a little bit separately. All right, so let's talk very directly about Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris is an incredibly dangerous candidate. Dangerous in the way of a rapper, not an agitated bear, like the fun, cool, dangerous. She is absolutely a contender to win the primaries, all right? However, she is really unusual in the following way. I have a theory. I have not heard anyone else say this theory, but I'm going to put it forward here, right? It is my theory that Kamala Harris is a Republican wolf in Democrat clothing. I don't think Kamala Harris is really a Republican at all, right? And so let's talk about that, because that's a bold statement, and I need to give some evidence for that, all right? So first evidence is she is not a progressive prosecutor. She was not a progressive defense attorney. She was a dyed-in-the-wool, tough on crime, like Republican style. She was never really a Republican, but she ran in 2003 against Terrence Hallinan in another DA in San Francisco, right? When she went to defeat Terrence Hallinan, who was an incredibly progressive prosecutor who did not pursue three-strike laws and was very, very understanding of the plight of criminals. When Kamala Harris ran against him, she eviscerated him on being tough on crime and being serious about prosecuting serious crime and violent crime, right? And the reality is, she called him weak for low prosecution rates. Said you did not prosecute people enough. And the reality is, his prosecution rates were very low because he was very understanding of people's past and how they got into these situations and how they got to the point where they were facing a three-strike law, right? And Kamala Harris went right at it, right? When she ran against him, she sent out flyers specifically with tattooed gang members saying, when I'm in, I will absolutely prosecute these people, right? And I will make sure they go to jail. That is straight Republican, right? You are not going to find that virtually anywhere on the Democrat side, right? That's like, that does not scream Democrat. That very much screams Republican, right? It's just, she said things like there needs to be serious consequences occur from serious crime and from violent crime. Just saying, like, I am going for prosecutions, right? And that's a very Republican move, right? The other thing is, if you listen to her speech, right? Her speech for when she announced her presidency, she said things that I was like, holy cows, this is pulled straight from the Republican Brave Book. First thing she says, one of the first things she says is, I have faith in God. What? Right? Like, faith in God, right? Like, they're all over the country, right? There are, one of the things right now is, are we going to have, there are major issues on the Democrat side where having faith in God is really not going to help you. And the Democrat Party is incredibly supportive of atheists, agnostics, and seculars, right? Many of their tentpole issues are like run right up against religious liberty, right? Right now, Republicans all over the country are saying we're the last people standing for religious liberty, right? Well, if you're a Republican and you hear faith in God, whoa, you're like, oh, does that mean you're gonna respect my religious liberty, which goes right up against many groups that the Democrats have promised and have signaled that they're going to help, right? That is like straight out of the Republican playbook. All right, some of the quotes she said, right? So Kamala Harris got to choose what went into her campaign speech announcement, right? Announcing that she was running for president. She quoted, actually, you know what? We'll get to the quotes in a minute. She said one thing that I could, oh, that's right. Well, I'll give it. All right. She quotes Robert Kennedy as saying specifically, we have a right to be the moral leader we have a right to be the moral leaders of this planet. What? Like, that's like, so one, that is fully embracing our position as a superpower, right? And again, on the Democrat side, you just really don't see a full embrace of our position as a superpower. And then also saying that America has a right to moral leadership over not our country, but the world. That is straight Republican. That's like so baller Republican. Like that, I would be shocked if I heard those words come out of the mouth today from a Republican. So to hear that from a Democrat is just like, that is amazing. Like, it's just really incredible, right? And so I was just really shocked to hear these things. So one of the things is, this was not a quote. This was right from Kamala Harris. She says so many things that come straight from the Republican side. All right, here's the next one that comes from, this is the most Republican thing in her speech, right? And it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible to hear these words from a Democrat, to me, right? She said, American history has always been seen, right? American history has always been written by those who can see what can be, unburdened by the past. That's an incredible statement. She's saying, if you're going to achieve, you need to do it from your own vision, and you need to leave behind the struggles and the woes of the past. They cannot affect you. That is incredibly Republican. That is pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Oh, you had struggles and woes because of this attribute you had or that attribute you had. I don't care. You still deliver. You still achieve. That is straight baller Republican speech, man. That is crazy Republican. And the reason why is the Democrats have promised to say to many different groups and say, we recognize and acknowledge your past and will never forget it, and realize that it has massively affected your ability to achieve. Kamala Harris saying, no, man, I see what can be, right? Me. And I am unburdened by the past, right? How are you going to talk about, how are you going to talk about reparations later, which is very, that's a Democrat, that has been championed by Democrats far more strongly than Republicans, right? And, so how are you going to join them and talk about reparations in a meaningful way when you're saying that America's history has, oh, by the way, she wasn't saying that, she was saying, you can count on me because I believe this and I will do this, right? She wasn't saying this like many Democrats would say. They would say the same thing in in a dark, scary music video. They would say, America's history has always been written by those who could see what can be, unburdened by the past, right? Thinking that the past has been abandoned, right? Which, that's what Kamala Harris is saying. She's saying, my past doesn't matter. What I am right now, my capabilities right now, my strength right now, what's inside me is undefeatable, right? That's an incredible statement, right? And it goes counter, in my opinion, to what everything the Democrats have been saying, is saying, we will always acknowledge your history. We will take the time to piece by piece pull out every struggle and every woe and commiserate with you on those struggles and woes. And then in many ways, we will reimburse you for the burden of the past. Kamala Harris is like, no. We achieve unburdened by the past. That is straight Republican, man. I can't believe, this lady, faith in God, saying that that you can achieve no matter what your past was, right? Oh yeah, let's talk about the tax cut. Tax cut of $500 for working and middle class families, right? Right. Andrew Yang's out there going UBI, $1,000 a month for everyone, and that really honors the past. Saying, I know some of you have struggled in the past and have not been able to earn the way others have. Kamala Harris is no, you need to be working. You need to be middle class already. And then I will give you a $500 a month tax cut. That is straight Republican. She's you're going to earn this tax cut, right? That is so Republican, right? And it's so small, $6,000 a year. Are you kidding me? Right? How does that fit with universal pre-care? How does that fit with Medicare for all? How does that fit with debt-free college, right? Honestly, I'll tell you, the only reason I think you will see, a tax cut of $500 a month for working families and middle-class families, even just saying family, you need to be a family to get this, right? The Democrats are moving beyond these terms, right? And the reality is the reason you will find them in Kamala Harris's platform is she's 100% a Republican at heart, right? Pure, tough on crime, right? Faith in God. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. This lady absolutely could have run on the Republican ticket if there was not a very real problem, which I think she understands, right? So, on the Republican side, whether I'm a Democrat or Republican is very complicated issue, right? One, I voted for Obama twice, right? But I have also voted for Republicans, and I feel like I'm really conservative, and I'm also very much a faith in God person, right? So it's tough to say, right? But the reality is, Kamala Harris, she is, so let's talk about the Republican Party. So I have a lot of goodwill for the Republican Party, but I also want to admit something about the Republican Party. I think the Republican Party, and this is why I voted for Obama twice. The Republican Party is shameful the way it has dealt with intersectionality and high intersectionality candidates. To my knowledge, no non-white male has ever, non-white, non-male, so every time the Republicans have put forward a person for the general election to run against the one candidate for the Democrats, every single time it has been a white male. That is absolutely shameful, and that is why I broke from the Republican Party to elect America's first black president, right? And one of the reasons why for that is I'm really big in my heart, I really want to believe that I would have been an abolitionist, right? There's no way for me to know that because I don't have a time machine, right? But I really believe I would have been an abolitionist. And when I saw, President Obama coming forward and all of the minorities in the country said, we're a hair's breadth away from saying a minority can be a president of the United States of America. There was no way I was going to miss my opportunity to make that a reality, right? So, but the reality is the Republicans, what they've done is shameful. So here's the thing, right? Kamala Harris is incredibly capable, incredibly smart, right? And one of the things, I think she just looked at the numbers and goes, man, I think and this is just me projecting what I think she thought, right? This is the idea that Kamala Harris is a Republican wolf in Democrat sheep's clothing. That's my idea. I have not heard anyone else say this, but I think when you look at her, if you just look at her campaign speech that launched her speech, you will see a ton of really strong Republican rhetoric. A ton, right? Things that no Democrat I've ever heard say, right? So with all that said, right, I think what Kamala Harris realized is, I think she was headed toward the presidency. I think, maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago, she's like, I'm going to the top, man. And she looked around and was like, maybe I could have been the candidate for the Republicans 25, 50 years from now, but now is now, and I need to get there. And shamefully, I think she's right. I think the Democrats will make more room for Kamala Harris than the Republicans would have made, which is incredibly wrong. And like I said, I really feel that Republicans have not been fair to intersectionality candidates and high intersectionality candidates. By the way, Kamala Harris is a high intersectionality candidate. That will absolutely help her with Democrats. There is a possibility that could have been a detriment if she had tried to run as a Republican. And I think she recognizes that possibility, and that's why she's like, oh man, in my heart and mind, I'm a Republican, right? But the Republicans aren't going to take me they're not going to take me to the highest seat, right? But the Democrats, I could do that, right? And so that's why I think she has shifted over, and she is now moving forward as a Democrat, And here, this is going to get even crazier, right? I see a lot of Trump in Kamala Harris. Okay, just take it slow. We're going to get there. Hear me all the way through, right? She's not like Trump in any of her policies, right? She's not like Trump. So here's my issue. I don't think Donald Trump is actually a Republican. I think I think when he ran in 2016, I firmly believe that Donald Trump was a Democrat. But he's he's incredibly politically savvy. People who think that he's not politically savvy they're just ignoring the data, right? Like, he absolutely politically stomped Hillary Clinton in the electoral. He didn't beat her by the populace. He beat her through political maneuvers, right? He did the counts right and beat her politically, right? And so that's just it. I think Donald Trump, as a white billionaire, right? He's figuring, oh my goodness, I'm probably not going to do that great on the Democrat side. I better run on the Republican side. I think Donald Trump was a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat the day when he started running in 2016. He realized there was an opportunity for him to win on the Republican side. He was a Democrat sheep and put on Republican wolf clothing, right? And reality is, now one thing I think has happened is when he was embraced by the Republican Party, I think he really he said, oh man, check this out. I am being given glory, right? And I think he shifted and he's all in at this point. I think he's actually a Republican at this point. And then the reason why is all the the love and the goodwill that the party and all the Republicans have attached to him. By the way, I never voted for Trump, and I have no intentions of voting for Trump in the next election either. I don't want to talk. Yeah. I will break that out here as a separate video. But that's my issue. Is I actually think Donald Trump was an incredibly politically savvy maneuverer, and he recognized the opportunity to run on the Republican side and transformed himself into an acceptable Republican. And that's my point with Kamala Harris. She is dead on, in my opinion. She is a Republican wolf in Democrat clothing, right? And she also, here's another one. She attaches the word fighter. Like she says, I have a fighting spirit. I am a fighter, right? Wow. You know, like that's bold for a Democrat, man. Like, Democrats are, they like solidified the anti-war movement, for Vietnam. They are known for peace, right? And she's like, I'm a fighter, right? And I'm like, wow, like, just like every other word out of her mouth displays her Republican spirit. However, here's the thing. She has declared herself as a Democrat. She is incredibly driven. I think she's more driven than any of the other candidates. Now, here's the thing. I think a lot of Democrats are going to smell that Republican wolf on her. And I think she's going to have a very, very hard time winning the Democrat primary. I would give her 33% chance of winning the Democrat primary. Get this. I actually think she has a 65% chance of beating Donald Trump if she goes against him in the general. Actually, toe-to-toe, I don't think there's any other candidate that is better suited to deal with Trump's nonsense with the media and go toe-to-toe and debate him and go tweet to tweet, right? Because the reality is, without a doubt, Donald Trump is a fighter, man. He is a deadly scrapper. And I think Kamala Harris has that spirit. And I think she could beat him because in many ways she had, and the other thing is, as a Republican wolf, man, like you are definitely going to be able to pull over some Trump voters, right? And I will tell you right now, I would definitely vote for, yeah, absolutely. I would vote for Kamala Harris before I would vote for Trump. Now, at this point, I certainly haven't decided to vote for Kamala Harris in the primary or in the general. I'm still up in the air. And actually, I'll say it right now. Right now, Andrew Yang is my guy. I'm reading and listening more and more to him. But I think just the ability to go toe-to-toe, to know what is in Trump's heart, and to be able to match him blow for blow, daggers out, close combat, right? That's what today's politics are. I don't think anybody is more suited to that than Kamala Harris. Super intelligent, super capable, right? But the reality is, at the end of the day, it is my opinion that Kamala Harris is a Republican wolf in Democrat clothing. Take a look at her speech and just watch for Republican signaling, and you will see a ton of it, right? It's right there. All right. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful day.